it will be there you go. That's it. We will be in a brand new year. So I don't know if you missed anything before this, but anyway, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whichever one of those you may be celebrating. Good to see everybody out there. I hope that you're checking us out. It's still pretty cold outside, although we are not experiencing what we experienced last week. We talked to you about it beforehand, said Thursday was going to be a pretty raw day, and boy, before it was all said and done, was it? I mean, the temperature dropped like a rocket, 40, 50 degrees. We saw unprecedented low temperatures for the last few days, Thursday night into all day Friday into Saturday as well. And things slowly started to, get a little bit better, on yesterday. So I hope you had a chance to get out and celebrate with family and friends. And I hope Santa was very good to you if that is indeed your thing. We're going to have a good show for you tonight. We're going to talk about some important issues as we end one year and head in to another. Just a few minutes, we are going to be speaking with community activist and executive director of Saving Absalom. His name is Jerald Trotter. You know him best as the man who has done the TV commercials, Don't Lose Your Head, Use Your Head, man. That is Jerald Trotter. He's done several of those public service announcements, and he'd be the perfect person to talk to about our young people and where things are heading in that direction, and they're not heading in a very good direction, as we end this year. Hopefully things will get better in 23. I will also be speaking a little bit later on to Reverend Dr. Jonathan McReynolds. He is the senior pastor of Fullview Missionary Baptist Church in Bartlett, and we're going to be talking about what seems to be a disconnect, especially between our young people and the church. And, a lot of folks have been having conversations, when we talk about the young folks as young as 14, 15 years old committing major crimes out here. Where's the disconnect? I mean, are they going to church with their parents? It used to be back in the day. It wasn't about whether you wanted to go. It was on a Sunday morning. You got up, you got dressed, and you got out. So everything else is, things have changed. That perspective has changed, absolutely, and we're going to talk with him about that. And, since we have seen weather that we have really not seen from the extreme perspective, and this is all over the country, by the way, I wanted to talk a little bit about weather. I used to do this back in the day, but I wanted to bring on somebody who actually knows what he's talking about, and he's actually a familiar face to those who have lived in Memphis and Shelby County for a while when he was here. Meteorologist Austen Onek. Y'all remember Austen from Channel 3, News Channel 3? He was the weekend guy for many, many years here. He is now the chief meteorologist at WDAF-TV in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he's going to join me to talk a little bit about what he knows best, which is weather and kind of how things, how things look in terms of forecasting once we get into the new year. Let us not forget, while we have seen a very, very big, powerful, and major storm, that this is just December, okay? We still got a couple, 3 months to go for winter. So I'm pretty sure we'll probably be seeing some days like this as well. Before we get into it, I want to extend a special prayer to the folks in Buffalo, New York, who are really, really going through it. I mean, they have had about 46, 47 inches of snow in the last couple of days. 27 people have died in that town because of that as well. So please, for all the folks who are out there who are dealing with some very difficult issues, we extend our prayers, and you all extend your prayers to them as well. So you have the guest list, and as we do at the top of the show, we always like to honor those who are celebrating a birthday or a special day or a special event, whether it be this past weekend, Christmas Day, or this day as well, or maybe this week. We do this little shout-out thing across the country called, we shout you out. But I can't do that until I say, hit it, Bren.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday on this day going out to Nancy Edwards, celebrating today. Happy birthday, Lisa Moore, to Greg Jones, to Kevin Moore, Cynthia Burgess Dotson, celebrating today, as is Kimberly Newsom, Willie Jordan celebrating his birthday today. Willie Jordan Jr., rather. Percy P. Sidney celebrating today. Pamela Coleman, and to top off the list, unless, of course, Lola has somebody, Myron Lowry, former city councilman, former mayor of our city, celebrating his birthday today. So to each and every one of you, from all of us here at the Real Talk Memphis gang, Lola, you got a birthday? Lola's got a birthday, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, happy birthday.
Well, turn the music down just a little bit so we can hear you.
Hear me now?
Yeah, got you.
Happy birthday to my Uncle Larry on tomorrow.
Uncle Larry on tomorrow. Happy birthday, Uncle Larry, on tomorrow. So, in saying that, we congratulate you for making another trip around the sun, and we hope we'll be here next year to celebrate your birthday and your next trip around the sun. Congratulations and enjoy. Thank you, Brent. All right, so I want to dive into a couple of news and notes before we get into the broadcast. I don't know how many of you, unless if you're my age, you hadn't heard of him, but a young rapper in this city died a few days ago. His name is Big Scar. He was only 22 years old. He was signed by Gucci Mane. He was on his record label. He died of an accidental overdose of some prescription drugs. So again, very sad, tragic news there. He's only 22 years of age. Big Scar. So in news and notes, of course, the big story is the weather. And MLGW has been offering us weather updates every few hours. Initially when all this started, the mayor announced a state of emergency, and I don't know how long it's been since that's happened in this city either. But he did declare a state of emergency. Right now, we're dealing with water issues. I know that's all you're talking about. Many people either have extraordinarily low water pressure or no water at all at this time. So we're trying to get all that worked out. Obviously, water mains have burst all over the city. And I believe at last check, there was maybe 3 more that had to be fixed. But, once you start fixing these things, you're going to run into more problems. The forecast is for maybe the next 3 to 4 days, maybe 5 days, when they will drop the boil water advisory. And that is in effect right now throughout most of Shelby County. The boil water advisory, you can bathe in it and do other things in it, but in terms of the drinking the tap water, that's not a good advice. That's not advised. And you also need to boil your water for a few minutes for any impurities. Now, it's important to note that when the water is fixed and the pressure is fixed and these pipes are fixed, it may take a minute for you to have to, be able to use that because, they have to go through some testing. They have to make sure that everything is all right and the water is purified and it is ready to drink before that happens. But I'm sure that Doug McGowan and the folks over at MLGW will give you all of the information you need in terms of all of this. My only issue with this has been the rolling blackouts, which, by the way, have never been seen here in the city's history, from what I'm to understand. And it was just a timing issue. TVA sets these things in motion, and apparently the communication effort between them and MLGW was not great. We had very short notice, and when you're talking about over 1 million people, you really must come up with a better way to be able to announce something as serious as rolling blackouts. A lot of people I know went through that for anywhere from up to 30 minutes to an hour to maybe a little longer than that. And you couldn't separate that from MLG issues because, they autonomously turned off a specific area. And at one time you had 40, 50, 60,000 people without power for like an hour in this town. So it may have been needed to try to conserve energy, but it was executed very, very poorly. And that may be something that folks will be looking at down the road. Did have one particular thing I wanted to mention that happened a couple of days ago, even in the cold. One couple's plan to lure a drug dealer into a robbery, ended with a man dead and his girlfriend facing charges. Basically, a male and a female spoke to someone they knew who was a drug dealer and said that they wanted to do a legitimate drug deal. So they met up at a specific location. They lured the man out, and when they pulled up to the house, the woman's boyfriend pulled the gun, and someone who was inside the dealer's vehicle fired several shots, one of those shots striking the woman's boyfriend. He was pronounced dead on the scene. She now faces a series of crimes. She was booked into the jail on Friday and is held 2 bonds totaling $85,000. Booked on a lot of charges as well. 18 years old. She's still a teenager, by the way. 18 years old. So that is something that once again we have to talk about with sad and tragic consequences on the back end. Holiday travel nightmares. There are a lot of people who are traveling and trying to get either to someplace or back from someplace. Southwest Airlines seems to be the one that is really causing the chink in the armor. They had to cancel 65% of their flights today alone because of the blizzard conditions at airports and cities all across the country. 65% of their flights. That's over 6,500 plus flights that were canceled today. So people are sleeping in airports all over the country, can't get home, don't know when they're going to be able to get home. That's a very, very, very tough situation, as well. So, we've been talking about this. Weather's getting really, really cold, and it is flu season, and it is RSV season. Now, I will tell you, RSV, which is the respiratory issue for young people, has kind of quieted down just a bit, thank goodness. And even the flu is almost coming to a crescendo as well in terms of the number of cases. But COVID numbers are starting to rise once again. And if you have not gotten your booster, it might be a good idea for you to get that just in case, because you never know where you're going. People are not wearing masks. Nobody's protecting themselves. Very few people are protecting themselves, I should just say. But it's tough out here, okay? And I want you to be well, and I want you to be healthy and all that kind of good stuff. So that's news and notes. By the way, the Memphis Tigers football team plays tomorrow afternoon in a bowl game. And it starts at 2:15. And so if you're off this week, so you either took off last week, came back for this week, or you took off this week, which is a lot of people do, and back next Tuesday. The traffic is very light out there right now. Lets me know that a lot of folks are out. So what I'm hoping right now is that if you're at home, it's still chilly outside. If you're at home and you're just hanging out, hang out with us here at Real Talk Memphis. We have a good show for you tonight. I hope to see some folks on Facebook Live if I can find it during the commercial break. Speaking of, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to kick things off with Mr. Jerald Trotter. This is Real Talk Memphis for a chilly Monday evening. I am Chip. You know who you are. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
WYXR is supported by the Orpheum Theater, presenting Mannheim Steamroller Christmas by Chip Davis on Thursday, December 29th. The spirit of the season comes alive with the sound of Mannheim Steamroller, a holiday tradition for over 35 years. More information at orpheum-memphis.com.
WYXR is supported by Shell Days Music Festival, presented by Mempho, April 21st and 22nd at Overton Park Shell. Shell Days will feature 2 days of music with Trampled by Turtles, Southern Avenue, Leftover Salmon, Neil Francis, Paul Thorne, and Bailey Bigger. More information at memphopresents.com.
WYXR is supported by GPAC, presenting Australian guitarist Tommy Emmanuel on Friday, January 13th. Tommy Emmanuel is known for his fingerstyle technique, live performances, and use of percussive effects on the guitar. More information at gpacweb.com.
Support for WYXR comes from Farm Burger. Farm Burger is your neighborhood grass-fed burger joint located in the East Atrium of Crosstown Concourse, offering custom grass-fed burgers, seasonal salads, and more. Farm Burger takes pride in their grass-fed beef and partners with local farmers such as Home Place Pastures, Bonnie Blue Farm, and Marmaloo Farms. For more information, visit farmburger.com.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening in the city. The last Monday in 2022. Glad to have you with us, and glad to have our first guest with us. He's been on with us before. He's a very familiar face and voice in our community. I do call him a community activist because he has gone he's gone out of his way quite a bit to make sure that our young people understand the perils of making bad choices. And he's very well known for the PSA commercials that he has done. He's also the executive director of Saving Absalom. Please welcome to Real Talk Memphis again, Jerald Trotter. And Jerald, it's good to see you, man.
It's good to be here, Skip, man. Thanks for having me.
That's okay. I even forgive you for calling me Skip. You forgot to.
What did I call you, Skip? My bad, brother. My bad.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
It's good to be here, man. It's good to be here, brother.
It's good to see you. So, I wanted to get you on the show, especially as we were wrapping up this year, to talk a little bit about what has really been troubling in our city, which is the escalation of crime. And all of us are feeling the effects of it. But more importantly, our young people, I mean, we're seeing there's something has happened in terms of the number of crimes that are affecting us that are being perpetrated by young folks. And I'm talking about teenagers, man, 15, 16 years old and up. And I wanted to get your take on it. I know you're very involved with the youth in our city and our communities, kind of what you see, out here in the streets today, and what thoughts does it promote inside you?
Well, what my nonprofit does is go around and talk to all the 10th through 12th graders in the Shelby County school system.
Okay.
So I get a chance to meet these guys. I speak to the boys. So I get a chance to meet these guys, one-on-one, talk to them, see what's making them click. Same old stories. The teenage angst is brought on by the frustration of not being able to answer a call. And we're all given a call when we're young men. And that call is to become a man, do all the things you're supposed to do as a man in this world, and put the race on your shoulders. That's the call you get. Problem is when the boys don't have a mentor to help them meet that job, help them be ready for that job. Imagine if you were supposed to show up for work one day and you had no idea what you were supposed to do for that job, how much anxiety and frustration that would bring on you.
Uh-huh.
So you have that, and you have just faulty and toxic definitions of what manhood is. So they get with their friends and they come up with their own definitions of manhood. They listen to rap music, they watch videos, play games, these violent games and everything else, and they think in their head that they're understanding what manhood is, because that's all that's left for them. If you listen to rap music, if you didn't know any better, they sound like the instructions to manhood, and they most definitely are not.
Well, Jerald, having said that, how do we reach them? I know you're out there. Your organization is out there dedicated to communicating with us, a lot of these young men. But I mean, how do we really reach what seems to be a major gap in the structure of how things should be today? And these young kids out here, running the streets all night long, no parental supervision, no anything. And then generally speaking, a lot of that turns into a very tragic situation. I mean, so how do you connect with them or try to connect with them when you're having conversations with these young folks about the choices that they're making?
I try to get them to understand that life is finite. This isn't a game. You don't get 3 goals at this. When someone's life is taken, that is it. And it's over. And they don't realize that until it happens right out in front of them. One thing I tend to do with these kids, and I'm most proud of, is that they know the commercial that says don't lose your head, but use your head.
Right.
Thing is, no one's giving them instructions what using their head is. So when I talk to them, I try to get them to think about what they're thinking about. I explain to them that every thought of theirs comes from a belief. And that belief they have is what directs all of their actions. So I try to get them to understand what they're thinking about on a daily basis. Doesn't matter the thoughts, as simple as they could be or as complex as they could be, they are directing your motions. I tell them all the time, you tie your shoes so you won't trip up. You don't walk out in front of you walk on the expressway because you don't want to get hit by a car. You don't touch the stove because you think it's hot. So the things that you're doing are going to be directed from what your beliefs are and what your thoughts are. So I try to work with them on deconstructing toxic beliefs and thoughts.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Jerald Trotter. Of course, many of you are familiar with him. He's a community activist. He really goes deep with our young folks out here. He's also the executive director of Saving Absalom. How did you decide to form this particular organization, Jerald?
Well, when I was in prison, I realized my issues with my temper, and I was kind of reading any and everything I get my hands on there, man. So I ran across, especially about psychiatry and psychology. So I ran across this not technique, but a sort of therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy. And I tried it on myself while I was in there. And I also tried it on a few of my, fellow, convicts in there. And it seemed to be really, really effective. That once you start thinking about what you think about, it becomes addictive, and you always think about what you're thinking about. And if you're thinking about what you're thinking about, you're not gonna do dumb stuff. It's almost impossible to do bad and stupid and toxic things if you're thinking about what you're thinking about. We just don't have a habit of thinking about what we think about. I know it sounds like a tongue twister, but it's actually,
I get it.
Actually very effective with the people. So what I did was I learned it then, and when I got out, I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something that would wake the kids up. I would see them come in there, all still kind of hyped up on who they thought they were, all still kind of in an old delusion of an old past life, and not really realizing what's smacking them in the face until it smacks them in the face. And so I started making those commercials and try to smack them in the face while they're out here.
Yeah.
So basically the answer to your question is Saving Absalom is about grabbing them by the collar and smacking them in the face while they're out here before they get in there and ruin their lives.
Getting some attention. That's exactly what we need in this society. Man. Yeah, I'm very happy that you were available to come on the show, because you're a voice and you're someone that people look up to. These young folks need a voice like yours. It sounds like you're giving them real truth. You're not sugarcoating anything. You're telling them, look, life is real, life is tough, and life is full of choices that you need to make.
Yes. Yes. I was giving some real talk to some kids out at Whitehaven about 2 months ago. Got a little trouble out there because one of the parents didn't like the language that was being used as far as talking about how some men actually do get raped in prison. And I don't know what you want me to tell the kids or how you expect me to make them afraid of going to jail, except for tell them exactly what's going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The denial of parents causes more destruction and costs us more lives than we realize.
Wow. You're 100% right about that. Listen, man, I'm up against the clockwise, but I'm really happy that you took some time tonight to talk to us. There is hope. There is hope. We just need to make sure that they understand that the consequences of the choices that you make can be very serious out here.
Yes, sir.
And it sounds like that's the organization, the theme of what you're trying to do. Jerald Trotter, Executive Director of Saving Absalom and a community activist that you all know and recognize. Thank you for coming on Real Talk, man. I really appreciate you, and Happy New Year.
Thank you for having me, brother. Thank you for having me. Keep doing what you're doing. We need you out here.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Take care.
All righty. Jerald Trotter, ladies and gentlemen, very powerful segment. Man is saying, look, you know what, young folks, you have choices to make out here, and we're trying to make you understand that there are consequences to turning the wrong way. Really appreciate Jerald for coming on the show. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to take it to the church house. We're going to talk with Reverend Dr. Jonathan McReynolds of Fullview Missionary Baptist Church and get his take on the disconnect that we're seeing with our young people and how we can save them, and also how we can turn this cycle around to being something positive. This is Real Talk Memphis. I am Chip Washington. You know who you are. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
WYXR is supported by Minglewood Hall, presenting Mo on Saturday, March 11th. For 3 decades, Mo has been known for their musical synergy, showmanship, and songcrafting. More information at minglewoodhallmemphis.com.
Music meets you wherever you are. A great record finds you, and the trick it pulls off is that it records you. The music always remembers who you were when it first hit you, and for the rest of your natural-born life, wherever you go, music can take you back to whoever you were. At Loaded for Bear, the way we approach art and brand design is to find our clients wherever they really are, meet them there, and create lasting work that captures who they are. Just like y'all, we're from Memphis, and we're listeners. Loaded for Bear is proud to ride for WYXR and community radio anywhere.
This is Clark Keys, co-founder at Crosstown Brewing Company. We are proud to be WYXR's official beer sponsor for 2022. Memphis music deserves Memphis beer. Working with the WYXR team has been an awesome way to support local community radio and foster a deeper connection with music while doing it. Our Instagram and Facebook pages feature all the updates regarding CBC and WYXR's frequent collaborations. Enjoy following along.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening, the last Monday of 2022. Very happy to have you with us. I'm Chip Washington, your host. And, as we wrap up this year, our thoughts generally start to turn to what's next. We're about to turn the page on another year. Many of you do the resolution thing, plans and some things that you want to kind of, do differently, maybe want to do differently next year. Well, one of the things that we have been dealing with as a city and as a community as a whole, is the violence perpetrated by our young people in this city. It just seems like we're not picking on them because these are actually real cases. And so I always have a rather inquisitive mind, and I always want to know what the root problem is in terms of this. So I thought I would bring a man on who I'm getting to know quite well. He is my pastor at Fullview Missionary Baptist Church, senior pastor, Reverend Dr. Jonathan McReynolds joins us now. And Pastor Mac, it is good to see you, and it's good for you this is good to have you on the show. This is the first time you've been on Real Talk Memphis. I'm happy to have you.
I'm glad to be on Real Talk on 91.7. I'm excited about the opportunity and glad to be here on a major platform in the city.
Well, I appreciate that. So, you and I were talking offline, and, I just thought it might be worth a conversation really to talk about, because people are starting to talk about the disconnect between our families, our family units, and in particular our children, as pertains to not only our parents, but people want to bring up the church. And I know you are a big time advocate, a huge advocate, as a matter of fact, for young folks, being a part, of the church family. Is there a disconnect that you see? You've been doing this for a very long time, and you sort of see the bigger picture. So what's your take on where we are with our young people in reference to the church?
I think it's a huge disconnect. Chip, I started in ministry when I was 19 years old. I'm 51 now, and I've seen a evolution take place in the church and with young people as I've aged from a young adult to a middle-aged person myself. And I think a lot of that disconnect is we have failed to be real with our young people and to maintain relevancy. We want to talk about Jesus saves, and yes, he does save. But in context with that, we have to be willing to talk about real everyday issues that are impacting the lives of our young people. And I think that lack of relevancy, lack of transparency has caused a major disconnect between the generations of young people and the church. We have to talk about real issues: life, sexuality, poverty, social justice issues. And the church's willingness to remain silent and irrelevant, and I'm saying irrelevant more so than silent, I think has lended to that large disconnect between the generations.
Pastor Mac, I want to kind of dig into that a little bit, because I believe that there is, something serious. When you and I were coming up, there was no choice about going to church. I mean, you got up on Sunday morning, you got dressed, you knew where you were going, and you knew where you were going to be. These days, first of all, kids are given choices, but do you sense that there is a lack of attendance when it comes to young people, and that parents maybe are not pushing that envelope, deep enough to say, look, you need to learn something here, and if you go and understand God's teachings, it might help you a bit. What's your take on all of that?
Absolutely, Chip, because we're dealing now with a generation of parents that are the first generation of parents that were not raised up in the church. As you said, we were forced to go to church, and sometimes multiple times on a Sunday. Yeah. And now we're finding ourselves dealing with a generation of parents in their 20s, 30s, maybe even early 40s that are part of that first generation that was not forced to come to church. It doesn't know what Sunday school is, BTU, doesn't understand the moral compass and foundation that was given to the generations before. So now you have children and families that look at church as an option and as a choice, and certain things are not being imparted into their lives. And I think we're seeing that manifested in these younger generations.
Does the church play a role in that absence because maybe it hasn't been emphasized enough, across the city here, or across the region? I mean, is there something from your perspective, as the shepherd of the church, that maybe some of the pastors aren't emphasizing enough, that having our children in attendance is extraordinarily important these days?
I think the liability goes across the board. I'm not going to put it on pastors and colleagues, but I will say, going back to one thing I said several months ago, is I think after coming out of segregation, church became an option for many in Black America. And I think when many of us got Black flight from the church, we lost something in our culture and our communities across the nation because we lost that moral foundation, that moral conviction. And I think also the church failed to maintain relevancy as conditions change with generations. Coming out of the civil rights movement, going into the Black Power generations, going into my generation, the church failed to talk the social language that these emerging generations talk. And then even, I would say, up until now, dealing with George Floyd's social injustice issues, there have been many church voices and church movements that have been slow to respond and to jump into matters that are of importance to the younger generation.
So you having said that, you're saying really this is a this is a bigger picture. This is a much broader picture that needs to be painted because of some of the things that we've seen and some of the lessons that we need to learn from that. From our church leaders, as you said, it's not us picking on anybody in particular. I mean, this is the problem for all of us. I mean, community is important. I know every single week how important it is for you. In particular with our young folks, to get them involved, to get them engaged, to get them to understand their responsibility. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I think that starts with going to young people. You can't just wait for young adults and young people to come into the doors of the church, but you have to meet them where they are. You have to find out what their issues are of importance in their life. Get their perspective of church, of God, of where you need to meet them at, rather than trying to just open the doors and expect them to run into the church. Mm-hmm. That sometimes not always been friendly to young people and families. So I think the church has to take a position of going outside of the four walls, meeting young people where they are on the streets, coffee shops, nightclubs, wherever, but also existentially meeting them where they are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I think that's the greater thing, is that we have to show young people that we care about them.
Yeah.
And my experience has been, when I show them that I care about them and I'm willing to listen to them and show concern about them, they get on the train with me and we'll ride this thing out together.
You have two sons, and you often talk about how one of the biggest keys in terms of your life and what you're trying to expound to others is sometimes we have to close our mouths and listen. But one of the biggest components is just having a conversation, talking to them, as you just said, finding out what's on their mind. And I think when you do that, it has a multifaceted effect. Do you think so? Am I right in that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Because if you just look at what we're doing in the context of Full View Baptist Church, I didn't come into the church telling the young adults and young people what I'm going to do.
Right.
I spent 6 months calling them in and sitting down and talking with them and listening to them talk about their vision of church, their experience with church, their joys, their hurts with church. And so I think when you listen to people and you show that you care about their journey, then you build synergy and collaboration with them, of where now you can work together and move forward.
You are planning to launch a school within the walls of Full View Missionary Baptist Church. Talk a little bit about your plans for that.
Sure. What we're trying to do this year, what we are going to do in this upcoming year, is launch the Full View Carter G. Woodson Academy, which is going to be an academic academy that's going to start out in its genesis as just giving support, academic support to young people, whether it's tutoring, academic enrichment. But the long-term goal is to have this to be possibly a Christian school or a full-fledged academic program that mentors and empowers young people from middle school to high school in the areas of literacy, mathematics, which is key, history, cultural things, and also helping them prepare for college, the military, vocational skills. And I think the church has to play a critical role of filling those gaps that our children and families are facing out here in the community and in the public school systems. I was gonna ask you,
final question in reference to that. We do need more places like this for children, again, This is endemic to them. This is a focus on them. And what you just said is how you lay the groundwork for all of this, initially to build up to other things, to be a school. That's extraordinarily important. Would you like to see other churches around the country pick up on an idea like this?
Absolutely. I think the church historically, when we look at the history of Black America, the church has played a critical role in the education of Black America. And that's the foundation of which I'm approaching this academy. One of my mentors and professors at Harvard Divinity School, Dr. Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham, wrote a book that dealt with how the Black church, particularly the Black Baptist Church, played a critical role in starting many HBCUs, filling social, educational gaps in our community. And I think churches across our country, across our city and community, have to step in and fill those gaps and fulfill those roles.
Reverend Dr. and our pastor, Dr. Jonathan McReynolds, thank you so much, Pastor Mac, for coming on the show and laying out your vision for 2023. I know that it is going to be an exciting time, for all of us. And, you have a goal and a mission, and we really appreciate you taking time to come on tonight.
Thank you for having us, and I encourage everybody to take a new look at an old friend in full view.
There you go. Absolutely. Reverend Dr. Jonathan McReynolds, thank you so much. And when we come back, we're gonna shift gears a little bit, and we're gonna talk about what we just experienced around here, which is some extraordinarily rough weather for many of us in this country. Buffalo, New York is going through it right now, as we talked about earlier this morning, 40-something inches plus of snow, which is where Pastor McReynolds came from, as a matter of fact. 27, 28 people dead so far. We're sending our prayers to those folks, most definitely in Buffalo and other places in this country. So we're going to talk a little bit about weather, and I'm going to bring back an old familiar face. This is Real Talk Memphis. I am Chip on this Monday evening. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page, and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
This is Will Goodwin, co-founder at Crosstown Brewing Company. Just like WYXR, Crosstown Brewing supports Memphis music and our neighbors who use their talents to make it. Our beers can be found at our 3,000 square foot tap room right here at the Crosstown Concourse and at your favorite bars, restaurants, and stores throughout Tennessee, Mississippi, and eastern Arkansas. Enjoy.
WYXR is supported by GPAC, presenting Australian guitarist Tommy Emmanuel on Friday, January 13th. Tommy Emmanuel is known for his fingerstyle technique, live performances, and use of percussive effects on the guitar. More information at gpacweb.com.
WYXR is supported by Minglewood Hall, presenting Mo on Saturday, March 11th. For 3 decades, Mo has been known for their musical synergy, showmanship, and songcrafting. More information at minglewoodhallmemphis.com.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening in the city, the last Monday of 2022. When we rejoin you again, it'll be a brand new year, and hopefully it'll be a brand new you. As I alluded to before the break, we had a storm blow through here that the likes of which we have haven't seen ever, or maybe for a lot of you long timers around here, old timers around here, maybe you saw something back way back when. But I mean, with wind chills in the single and double digits for the last couple of days, and the snow and the whole 9 yards, it was quite the blast from west to east. So I decided to reach back and reach out to someone I consider a friend, and someone you all consider a friend as well. He has used to be our weekend meteorologist around here on News Channel 3 for a very long time, a couple of decades at least. He is now the chief meteorologist at WDAF-TV in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He is Austen Onek. And Austen, great to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Doing well, sir. Good to hear from you again.
Absolutely that. So you're down there in Chattanooga and kind of running the show there. How's it been? How's the experience been so far?
It's been excellent. The people here are wonderful, have a lot of creative opportunities. We've got, it's a small station. It's not what I was used to in Memphis, but they do a great job with what they have. The place is excellent. It's not Memphis, but what is. And it's been a wonderful experience so far in the last 6 months. So I'm looking forward to the rest of my time here.
Yeah. So, well, I'm glad to hear that. I know a lot of folks miss you around here. I mean, you were one of my favorite, weather folks when you were here as well. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this storm from your perspective in terms of its intensity, and it's still moving through pretty hard, especially in the Northeast right now. But maybe kind of because you're a scientist and you really get into studying all this kind of stuff, what do you see as we're moving forward? You have to keep remembering this is really the beginning of winter. I mean, we still have a few months left. So, what does it look like as we're turning the page into another year from your perspective?
Well, short term, in the next several days, we're going to be looking for the potential of warmer weather coming through. I know everybody's saying thank heavens for that.
Yes,
because
indeed.
After that last cold burst, we were shivering out there for a while, and it's nice to get back to normal conditions. The Climate Prediction Center, which does the short, medium, and long-term lookouts for weather and what we're going to be expecting, is showing in the next about 6 to 10 days warmer conditions, but also a lot more chances for rainfall coming on through. And then through about the first couple weeks of January, temperatures, according to what the CPC says, is going to be on the mild side, and then chances of rainfall remain above normal. So we could see kind of a wet and warm start to the new year. Beyond that, we start getting into more uncertainty. So it's difficult to say beyond what we may see. We have general guidance to about 3 months, 6 months, somewhere in there, but that's about as good as it gets.
Does the storm that just passed that we all experienced, you've been doing weather for a long time. Have you ever seen anything or experienced anything like this with this kind of intensity?
The last time we had anything in Memphis was, if I recall correctly, it was 2016, 2017, somewhere in there, and the wind chills dropped like a rock. They were in the negative digits. I remember that much. I cannot remember if they went to double digits negative on the wind chill, but it was doggone cold for a couple of days in and around that area. The benchmark winter storm for the area is that ice storm back in '94.
Everybody remembers 1994 from around here.
That's the one thing right there. When you're talking about the Memphis storm of the century, that's the storm that everybody really remembers. But we didn't get too much in the way of ice or snow out of this. Some, yes, but not a lot.
Yeah, and of course, when you have temperatures this extreme, you're going to have some negative ramifications from that. Right now, water pipes are bursting all over the city, and that's causing a big problem. I don't know that we've ever seen these rolling blackouts. Have you ever experienced that in all your time down here?
Never. That's something right there that says that we really need to rethink how we get our power, how the power is managed, that we cannot rely on just one or two sources of power. We really need to think about renewable energy for not only a wide scale, whether it's solar or wind or tidal power, but we really need to think about what goes on for the individual at home versus what's going on from just relying on nuclear or coal in that area. So there has to be some big changes made on that.
The way it was done was to me about as bad as it could get in terms of the timing and the dissemination of information to almost 1 million people, in this city alone who were affected by all of this. And it really showed something about TVA too that maybe shone a light on it that maybe we had never really seen before in terms of their readiness for a situation like this, not only here but through the entire state.
I had friends of mine over in Germantown and Collierville who had notices from TV or from MLGW that their bill was going to be due in a few days, but they never got word one about rolling blackouts unless they went to social media. And that was released from the news outlets in and around the Mid-South to give people the information that there might be rolling blackouts. So anything directly from the power companies and the utilities seem to be pretty lacking this time around based on what I've heard.
If you're just joining us, we're spending a couple of minutes with Austen, Onek, an old friend from the Memphis area of the weather over at his previous station, News Channel 3 here. He is now the chief meteorologist at WDAF-TV in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Are we doing a good job? And I say we, just as a media, an area covering media and dissemination of information. Are we doing a good enough job, when these storms come, or before they come, in really providing the type of information that residents need in a timely manner in order to prepare, in your opinion, as a seasoned weathercaster?
There is a lot of motion in the National Weather Service community to simplify the watches and warnings where it comes to winter weather so that you don't have winter storm watch, winter storm warning, freezing rain advisory, winter weather advisory, wind chill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have it's going to be a simplification going on, and the National Weather Service has been taking the public's opinion on that to say, what would you like us to be saying when it comes to watches and warnings like that? Are we doing enough now? Yes, I think so. And somebody who has been accused of quote unquote hyping the weather over the years, stating the facts and getting the information out there, that's not hyping the weather. That's just giving people what they need to be safe. That's it, and that's all.
That's it, and that's all. Well, listen, Austen, man, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well down there, and I want to wish you and your family a happy new year. Give Melissa a hello from me, and you all stay safe down there, and I will be reaching out to you sometime in 2023.
Sounds good. It was a pleasure working with you at the CRU. Glad to be back with you again today. Glad to see you're doing okay, and I'll be looking forward to the next time.
Thanks, man. You take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Austen Onek, ladies and gentlemen. He knows his stuff in terms of the weather for sure. Chief meteorologist at WDAF-TV in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So before I get out of here, I want to acknowledge a couple of things. This is the last week, as I said, of 2022. It's been a challenging year in some ways, but it's also been a very good year. And we've done very well on our show. I want to thank Lola and Nicole and now Bryn, who's the newest a member of our team, for being here and helping us out. This, people think that you do this and it's relatively simple, but it's not necessarily. It takes a little work to put the show together in terms of doing the research and finding the guest and talking a little bit about what they do here and there and there and here. But I wanted to make sure that I thanked them, and also very happy that my daughter Brianne Nicole is here with us. She's actually sitting in studio right now with us, and she decided to come out here and spend Christmas with us. And she left Los Angeles. It was like 80 degrees. It was 84 degrees on Christmas Day out there to come here to the frozen tundra of Memphis, Tennessee. But, I'm a proud dad. I'm very proud of my daughter and all of her accomplishments and everything that she's done and is doing out there. She works at Netflix out there and doing very, very well, and very, very proud of her, and of course, very happy to see her for this Christmas holiday. I know she'll have a great year. As for all of you, I just want to say thank you for making 2022 a good year for us. And as Bryn plays this out, I'm just really grateful for those of you who have supported the show. And all I can say to you is while I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate your efforts, and I see Michael Harris is online tonight, Audrey's online, Buddy Smith is joining us tonight. And I really appreciate you doing this. And all I would ask is that you would continue to tell folks about what we're doing here on Real Talk Memphis. This is, really, I'm really dedicated to this show. I really am. And we pray that 2023 will even be a bigger year, a better year. And, the things that we do around here will make a difference, in the lives of all of us who live here. Please tell your folks about Real Talk Memphis. Like, follow, share, subscribe. We are a podcast, so you can pick us up, anytime after Tuesday when they post the show. So please do. Please give it a listen. It's an hour worth your time. I think we try to do a decent job around here. So for all of us here at Real Talk Memphis, we wish you a happy and healthy and prosperous 2023. God bless you all. If the Lord says so, we'll be back here next week with another great show. Till then, take care, everybody.